All right, guys. So let's get started with section 1.1. 1.1 is all about just an introduction into what economics is. So here's the definition. Economics is the study of how humans make decisions in the face of scarcity. So if that's a little confusing, think about it this way. So how people satisfy their unlimited wants with their limited resources. So every decision that you make, whether it be an individual decision, a family decision, or a business decision, or a societal decision, all of these decisions that you're making are having to do with economics because you are facing these unlimited wants and your limited resources. So what is exactly scarcity? Well, that's your human wants are going to exceed what is available. Okay, so your wants could be food, shelter, clothing, transportation, healthcare, entertainment, an island, cars, right? Like all of these things are going to be wants, right? But we only have a limited amount of resources. Now, resources are going to be things like labor, tools, machines, raw materials, more importantly, time. Because if you were to want to do a vacation, if you wanted to spend time with family, if you wanted to go buy a car and fly in an airplane, right? Do we have the time to do all of those things? Probably not, right? So we also have to deal with time. That is our most scarce resource. And why is it the most scarce resource? Because you don't get it back. So even if you were to make, let's say, a good decision on something like, you went to class, right? And that was great. You studied, you got a good grade. So that was a good use of your time. But you still have to make a decision and you have to look at the scarcity of it. So even though it's a good decision to go to class and study, right? What else could you have done with your time? Right? There was something else that you had to give up in order to go to class. And that's where economics comes into play, right? Is looking at these different decisions and then making a choice about what is better. So for instance, right, you're wanting to go to class or you want to go to sleep, right? But you have to figure out what is better for you. So economics is looking at these decisions and you're going to figure out what to choose. Okay. So here's some examples of some real issues that we are having in terms of economics and the fact that our wants are more than sources. Okay. We have 158 million people in the labor force. So the labor force means just the people that want to work, the people that do have a job, and the people that are unemployed. Okay. So we have 158 million people in the labor force, but we only have 3.8 million square miles for land. So let's think about it. Could everybody in the labor force have 1 square mile of land? No, right? We don't have enough room in the United States for all of these people. So then that's why we lead to problems like homelessness, right? Because if everybody wanted some land, but we don't have enough, that would have to mean somebody doesn't have any land. So then they could be homeless. One way we figured out how to solve this less land, more people is what we do. We started building up, right? To where now, instead of it's 3.8 million square miles for land, we can now go up and we can now put more people in a building than on just 1 square of land. So that's one way we solved it, all right? But then we still have issues like people going hungry or the people with medical care. So all these issues are still happening, and we still have to use economics in order to figure out how do we solve them. All right. So whether you're taking a vacation or wanting a new car, sleeping or going to class, or your government is trying to figure out more money for the fire department, police department, should we do more funding for national defense or protecting the environment, right? The choice, right, is yours, your city, state, or the country. Somebody is making a choice about something. All right. And every choice has a cost. Even if it was a good one, such as going to class, like I mentioned earlier, it does have a cost. All right. So, what's the issue with trying to do everything yourself? Like, think about it, right? If you wanted to basically do, let's say, work, and you wanted to put a car together, think about everything you have to do to build a car. You would have to, put the tires on, the doors on, the windows, the motor, right? You would have to figure out, how to put the gas in, the brake lines in, right? Could you imagine trying to do everything yourself, right? And then, right, because it's a choice, right? Because you're choosing to do the car, and then every choice has a cost, what else are you giving up, right? Are you not going to work? Are you not spending time with family, right? All of these things do have a choice. So, what is the issue with trying to do everything yourself? Could it be that you don't have time to do something else? Could it be it's taking you forever just to complete it? Could it be you're not skilled enough to complete everything? Maybe. But what if you were to delegate some tasks? What would happen then? Right? Well, what could happen, right, is if you were to hire a mechanic, right, somebody who is much more skilled at a car than myself, right, that would be great because now we may be able to do things faster. Maybe I'll be able to help him out on certain things. Maybe I'm doing something better than he would. Okay. So because we're able to delegate tasks, we could get the car done faster, right? So that is where we are going to introduce the idea of the division of labor. Basically, instead of me trying to do everything, right, I divide up the labor to where we can figure out how to do it together, where we can do it faster. Okay. So this idea came from Adam Smith in his book of Wealth of Nations. So in that book, he really tried to break down certain economic factors that we still use today. The one that we really look at is the division of labor. So how he was able to think about this idea was that he was looking at people that were making pins, right? And what he noticed was that for one person, right, they would make about 18 pins a day. So between trying to make one pin at a time, right, he was looking at that and he was like, can we make that better? And what he found was that if we were to have somebody dedicated to a certain task and another person dedicated to another task, what we could have through the division of labor is much more efficiency, right? So he looked at making a pin, something as simple as a pin. It turned out it had 18 different tasks, from drawing out the wire, cutting the wire, straightening it, putting the head on it, packaging it, maybe selling it, right? All of these things just to put a pin on the shelf or a pin in the customer's hand, 18 different tasks. And so could you imagine one person trying to do 18 different tasks? It'd be really, really difficult, right? Which is why they were really slow on putting these things together. But then, right, what he said was, let's try and do different people. We should have people specializing in something, right? That led to an increase in production, specialization, focusing on a part of production where you have an advantage, right? So I hired a mechanic to work on my car because he specializes in that. And because he's really good at it, we're going to do that faster. And what else happens with the more you do something? Well, the more you do something, maybe the faster you get at something, right? Or maybe you're able to do it better, leading to a higher quality, right? So that's also a good thing because when you start specializing and you start getting better at something, you can start doing it even faster and better. And now all of a sudden, not only is it better to delegate tasks, but it's also better for you to be able to do that one thing and get better at that. So through the division of labor, we were able to quickly increase production. Okay. And we were able to lead to economies of scale. Economies of scale, basically, the bigger you get, the lower the average cost is. So let's picture this, right? You have 24 hours in a day to make pins, all right? And you're working on them and throughout the day, and you make a few hundred. But what about the next day, right? You still have 24 hours, but now because you're better at it, you can now make 200. What about the next day? Well, you get even better, and now you make 250. Okay. What is happening here? You have the same amount of time, but you're making more pins. So you're getting better, right? And because you're getting better, you can do more. So your cost of your time, right? Because you're more productive, is decreasing. Another way to think about economies of scale is just think about a big company such as Amazon. Okay. They're so big that they are able to do a lot of things cheaper than if I were to do that. Right. So big companies able to do sometimes a lot of things cheaper for one thing than, let's say, a small business would. All right. So that's kind of what economies of scale is. A great example of the division of labor is going to be the assembly line, because in the assembly line, it goes right down the line, right? We have somebody, if we were putting together a car, we would have somebody making the tires, we would have somebody putting the doors on, we would have someone put the windows on, we would have somebody for something, right? And so that is how we were able to basically increase the production of cars, was through the assembly line, right? So this kind of leads into the benefits of understanding economics, right? Because we had a limited amount of time. So it's like, okay, well, how can we be better at it? And that was the division of labor. So why else should we study economics? Well, just like Adam Smith, right, where he saw an issue and he fixed it, that's what we're going to do here. You're going to be a critical thinker. You're going to be able to find new ways to think about current events, business decisions, personal choices, everything that you're going to learn in this class, you could take out right now. You can look at something that happens on the news, or you can go to the grocery store the next time you make a decision, right? And you're going to think a little bit different about your decision. There are many issues that are going to need to be solved, such as poverty, education gaps, income inequality, or high inflation. Everybody hates high inflation, and who would like that, right? So we need to figure out, how do we solve these issues here? And you could be the change the world needs. You could come up with some kind of idea that's going to just fix the issue, right? So whether it be something in agriculture, whether it be something in education or labor, economics has a field for you, right? If you wanted to get more into maybe the environment, you can study environmental economics to where you can understand how can we fix the environment economically, right? So these are the different fields of study. I'm really into education, and I'm trying to get into behavioral economics. I think the behavioral economics is really cool because it's studying the mind and how people make decisions. We will be getting into a little bit of that later on in the year, so that's going to be pretty fun. But there's these different fields here. You're more than welcome to go look them up. They're beautiful and in their own way. Okay. All right. So that's it for this video. For the next video, check out section 1.2, and then we'll keep going from there.